You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
I told President Trump this morning that we ought to give them a few more days to complete that so that we too have a complete understanding of the facts surrounding that.
A journalist murdered and dismembered in Turkey. The investigation continues, but why is President Trump being so hesitant to criticize the Saudis? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the week in Washington in a moment, but first, our top stories. More than a week after Hurricane Michael devastated the Florida Panhandle, including his home city of Tallahassee, Mayor Andrew Gillum is back on the campaign trail in the race for governor. Gillum relaunched his campaign in St. Pete and Tampa, where we caught up with him today. ABC7 has offered both Gillum and Republican nominee Ron DeSantis opportunities to talk directly to Suncoast voters. Gillum took the opportunity today. Mayor, first let's talk about being back on the trail after the hurricane. What kind of kink did that really throw into the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is I didn't see it as a kink in the sense that I got to do the job that I'm elected to do right now, which for me was being mayor of Florida's capital city. We had a near Category 5 hurricane barreling toward us, and I had to do what we needed to do to make sure that our residents were out of harm's way. That being said, obviously it's not easy taking 11 days off the trail, not being able to get out there and fundraise and do those kinds of things and to talk to voters. But I think the people around the state understood that I had a job to do, and I think in some ways they were respectful of the fact that I needed to do what I needed to do in Tallahassee. The good news is, certainly in our county, we had no storm-related death, thankfully. Even though we had 110,000 customers out of power a week to the day of the storm, 99.5% of people had their power again. It's not the most beautiful capital city right now, but that's what happens when you have thousands of trees come down covering roads and that kind of thing. But we got it up and it's on the tossed to the curb. And now, I have to tell you, the folks in Tallahassee are now playing a huge aid role to our neighbors across the northern panhandle. I mean, we literally saw communities there in the Gulf that were washed away. Schools, businesses, homes, lives, unfortunately impacted. The truth is my experience in Tallahassee as the mayor in that region, being able to get firsthand access to what was happening, I think will prepare me well for the recovery effort that will, without a doubt, across administrations. The next governor will have to develop what the rebuilding plan is going to be for the Gulf Coast. The Gulf Coast will be back, and it will come back stronger than ever, but it's going to take a lot of resources. We're going to have to look at, school funding up there. We're going to have to look at infrastructure up there. We know that many of those counties were likely bankrupted by this storm, not able to put out the kind of money that was necessary to protect their assets. And now the state's going to have to come in to provide some relief. My experience in the region and having endured Hurricane Michael, I think well prepares me for what it means to rebuild the region.
Let's talk about some of the political questions right now. When you look at what your opponent, Congressman DeSantis, says about you and what his supporters do, they say that you are a socialist.
Yeah.
When you hear that, what would you say back to them?
Well, number one, I'm not a socialist. I'm a Democrat, but more importantly, I'm a Floridian. And my opponent also told us who he was. While people were fleeing my part of the state, trying to get cover from a Category 4, almost Category 5 storm, they had to deal with his commercials, not to mention the least of which they were false. But importantly, people don't want to see that. And over the arc of political history in this state, statewide candidates for public office have always pulled down negative advertisement, certainly in the impacted regions of our state. My opponent doubled down on that strategy during this storm, and I think his actions are in many ways disqualifying for the highest office in this land. We expect more, we expect greater from our governor. To the point of being a socialist, this is the same guy who often wants to talk about me and being close to Venezuela, when he right now, one of his biggest donors benefits from the Venezuelan economy and has given money to Ron DeSantis, of which he has not given back. He also, in that name calling, really cheapens what a socialist and what a Venezuelan regime actually does. These are people who murder, take out their political opponents, who commandeer, take over the businesses that exist in those communities and bring them under their own dictatorship. I take great offense to his weaponizing of that word. I reject it, of course. But between the two of us, he's the only one who's taking money from Venezuelan oligarchs, the only one who is accepting money from those kinds of dangerous and backwards dictatorships.
You mentioned the ad that Congressman DeSantis launched during the hurricane, and your opinion of it, of the timing of that.
Sure.
But I have to look at our viewer comments all the time, on both sides. And for the people who are supportive of him, they look at the FBI investigation, and they take shots at you over it. So when it gets down to that, where that investigation stands, your role in it, what is the one thing that you want folks on the other side to think?
Well, I won't be able to control what the other side thinks, but I think should they choose facts, the facts are I am not under FBI investigation, and neither is my city. In fact, we have opened up every resource that we possibly can to aid their inquiry into the actions of any individual. And what we've said is if anyone has done anything wrong, anything illegal, anything inappropriate, they ought to be held fully accountable for that. My opponent obviously has played loose with the facts. His ad received a political grade, and it was called completely false. Yet he continues to run false and untrue ads. I can't help what his supporters want to believe. It's a political campaign. But what we need to know about Mr. DeSantis is that in spite of being informed that his ads are completely false, he continues to lie to Floridians. In my opinion, that disqualifies him for the office in the sense that he is not going to be honest with Floridians right now as he seeks the office of governor. Certainly nobody in this state would believe that he would deal honestly with people if he were ever elected governor. He's at the very least, his responsibility is to be truthful with voters. That's how I have been. That's how I have leveraged myself in this way.
A couple of other issues. We've done a lot of shows recently about your competing plans for public education in Florida.
I actually have a plan for public education.
Well, they're different. I mean, he wants to put more money into voucher programs. You talk about raising teacher pay, but also raising corporate taxes by $1 billion. Again, when a lot of people write into us about their comments on that, they just see tax increases. And, a lot of folks where we work have moved down from the Northeast where they pay higher taxes. So take your shot in terms of putting into perspective for them.
Well, if they have moved from a northeastern state where they pay higher taxes, they should have no concern with my tax policy. It simply is that not a single Floridian will pay a dime more than what they pay today. I am against a state income tax. My opponents are sending out text messages saying the opposite, but they can hear it directly from me. Florida enjoys being a lower tax state and a no income tax state, and we're going to remain that through a Gillum administration. Not a single corporation, small business in this state will pay more today, will pay more under a Gillum administration than they pay today. In fact, they will pay less, including the corporations who will pay $1 billion more to the state of Florida. These are the same. 3% of corporations in this state, and there are only 3% who pay the corporate tax rate. That 3% got a $6.3 billion windfall during the Trump administration. They will get that windfall continuously. All we have said is that they can keep $5.3 billion of our money, but we want $1 billion of that money to come into the state of Florida to help pay teachers more, to help train our next generation workforce so that we can produce for them the talent that will then walk into the jobs that they create.
Finally, last question, red tide. It's devastated the Suncoast here. We know it. On one hand, it's naturally occurring. The debate is whether we've accelerated it. And people are looking for answers that may or may not be out there. So what is the one thing that you would say in terms of not only finding answers, but doing something about it so next summer we don't have the same problem?
Yeah, so first, we need a governor who believes in science. I will bring scientists and biologists to the table to help us shape a solution that will be long-term and enduring. The truth is, and I think that we've got to level with people, that we didn't get here overnight and it won't be fixed overnight. It is going to require a governor who is prepared to repair 20 years of environmental degradation by our Republican-led House and Senate and the governor's office that has literally handed over the keys of environmental protection to the biggest polluters in this state. When I'm elected governor, we're going to hold those folks accountable for their contributions to the pollution in this state. We're going to regulate nitrates again. This whole idea of best practices is a thing of the past. You're going to have to actually put those plans to work. cleaning up our environment, reducing the level of nitrates and phosphorus going into our groundwater system. These last 20 years, we've seen time after time after time big businesses in the state get a break when it comes to our environment. And now our air quality and our drinking water and our oceans are all at risk. I'm going to be a governor who's going to bring the best science and the best biology to the table. They will help us craft a solution that will, again, be long-term and enduring in this state, and we're going to hold the biggest polluters accountable for their contributions to the degradation of our environment.
Mayor, good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We want to thank Andrew Gillum for his time today. And again, we extend an invitation to Congressman Ron DeSantis to join us. Now let's head over to ABC7 meteorologist Josh Stone with the first forecast.
Just got a promotion. I like that. Anyway, now Bob will be back at 11. But anyway, our temperature right now is 82 degrees, mostly clear skies, humidity at 74, and a north-northwesterly wind at 9 miles per hour. Throughout the evening, though, we're going to have a light westerly wind, which will keep us a little bit warmer than where we should be at this time of the year. As far as our radar goes, it's pretty quiet. There is a little activity here in Hardee County around, DeSoto County around Arcadia, the little shower activity there, but that will probably be short-lived. We'll monitor that, but that's very isolated. As far as other temperatures, in Bradenton, Venice right now, around 83, 82 degrees, so low 80s. Comfortable conditions, though it's a little muggy out there. And then as we go through the evening planner, you see temperatures start to taper off into the upper to mid 70s as we go through the next several hours. And just a few passing clouds, and that's about it. As far as our overnight low, this will actually be the temperature right before dawn tomorrow morning. 72 degrees will be the official low, but remember the average for this time of the year is 67, and we're going to be above that because of a westerly wind. The water cools down slower than the land in the overnight, so with winds coming over the Gulf from the west, our temperatures would be a little bit warmer. And as far as the tropics go, well, the Atlantic is quiet, but there is some activity in the Pacific. We'll show you that and, of course, talk about some other weather news that's happening. And we'll have the 7-day outlook when I return. Stay with us.
Hurricane season is here, and so is the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. This essential resource arms you with vital information you need to protect your family and property when severe weather threatens the Suncoast, including how to create your readiness plan and survival kit, shelter locations, what to do with pets, and important phone numbers. Visit mysuncoast.com and download the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Brought to you by Batteries Plus, the Florida Lottery, and Sarasota Glass and Mirror.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
Rugs as Art. You know the name, you know the building, but do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore. But there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Like ABC7 on Facebook to stay connected to the team you trust.
CNN sources are painting a picture of how Turkish intelligence responded as soon as they learned journalist Jamal Khashoggi was missing on the night in October 2nd. CNN's international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson is in Istanbul with the timeline of the events on that night.
Just before 5 p.m. on October 2nd, Jamal Khashoggi's fiancée begins to panic. Hatice Cengiz is waiting outside the Istanbul consulate nearly 4 hours after Khashoggi went in. She makes a call to a senior Turkish official in the capital, Ankara, and within minutes the alarm is raised. Turkey's intelligence agency is alerted. The official who talked to Cengiz that afternoon tells CNN he called the Saudi ambassador in Ankara, who expressed surprise about the disappearance of Khashoggi. Within hours, however, that mystery turns to horror. CNN has learned that by mid-evening, Turkish intelligence was reviewing an audio-visual feed from inside the consulate, a feed they have not officially admitted to having. On it, evidence of a struggle, an assault, and the first indication that Khashoggi was dead. Intelligence officials raced to Istanbul airport, where a private Saudi jet was waiting to take 7 men back to Riyadh. One of them had a diplomatic passport. According to a police report obtained by CNN, the airport search was ordered because there was a risk that Jamal Khashoggi had been abducted. The police officer at the gate was instructed to hand over the passenger and crew information for the flight. At around 9 p.m., disguised as airport workers, the intelligence agents searched the jet, while the Saudi passengers waited, apparently unaware. The police report we've obtained says that the intelligence officials also searched the bags of the passengers to make sure there were no body parts. So just 5 hours after the alarm was raised, Turkish authorities are beginning to suspect Khashoggi was killed. Nothing was found, and eventually the plane was allowed to leave. But the Turks' work was only just beginning. They spent the next few days analysing every scrap of surveillance footage, the vehicles, the passengers, their movements, trying to piece together how Khashoggi had died and who killed him. Nick Robertson, CNN, Istanbul, Turkey.
In the moment, the chair of the Sarasota Republican Party, one of the Suncoast's best-known Democrats, and one of the region's most gifted political reporters, all at one trapezoid.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S., and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-485-6000. That's 1-800-485-6000. Or go to mesoonlylaw.com.
When the call comes in, it's time to go to work. We'll respond first, but FBL is right there with us.
You really never know what you're going to pull up on. You don't know what type of call you're going to have. You don't know, once you get to that call, what you're going to encounter.
Whether it's a big storm, it could be a house fire, you must be ready at all times.
We're always happy to see FPL. It's pretty much a team effort. Everybody has a job to do.
We know we can count on them. They'll be there, and so will we.
Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework.
It makes no sense.
I don't know how he finds anything in his backpack.
I can't find my backpack.
I couldn't even read his handwriting.
Holding the pencil makes my hand hurt.
I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
Being empowered starts with getting informed, looking closer. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. But many of us don't know there are different types of breast cancer with different characteristics. That was me. Learning about the specifics of my diagnosis gave me the confidence to make informed treatment decisions with my doctor. This meant everything to me and my family. So take another look. Ask another question. Learn more at notonetype.org.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Welcome back. The midterms are 2 weeks away. At stake is control of Congress and the governor's mansion, but our attention this week was dominated by the apparent grotesque, apparent murder and dismemberment of a Washington Post journalist by our dear friends, the Saudis. Just moments ago, the Saudi government finally acknowledged Jamal Khashoggi is dead and 18 Saudis have been detained. There are still a whole lot of questions, and among them is President Trump's refusal to hold up an arms deal until the Saudis come clean. Republicans and Democrats in Congress don't agree on much, but they're joined by the hip on this. The Saudi government and the Saudi prince are buds with Jared Kushner, but he should not be friends of ours. And joining us for more are Joe Gruters, the chairman of the Sarasota Republican Party, former state representative Keith Fitzgerald, and Janelle Oren of FloridaPolitics.com. But first, our poll question of the day. And here's ABC7 digital producer Chloe Convoy. Chloe.
Alan, today we posted a question on our Facebook page asking viewers if they think the Trump administration has been tough enough on Saudi Arabia demanding answers to the apparent murder of the Washington Post journalist. We already have a total of 300 votes, and 77% of our Facebook viewers say the Trump administration is not being tough enough, and 23% of you say Trump is being tough enough on Saudi Arabia. Coming up, I will share some of your comments on our Facebook poll. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thanks. So this is obviously a breaking story here, but let's put it into context in terms of our domestic politics. Joe, we saw the president last night talking about Democratic mobs and the violence, really some harsh language there. It seems the language about Democrats is harsher than about the Saudis, and this, considering this grotesque murder.
I don't think we always know what exactly is happening in D.C. within his intelligence community, within the White House. I think what they did to this journalist is abhorrent. I think it's terrible. I think we need to have a strong response. I think we need to do whatever we can to protect the integrity of journalism. And we can't let anybody get away with this type of activity, because it will discourage people from telling the truth, from being forthright on articles and everything else, and the press, as much as sometimes as politicians we don't like them or what they say, we need them to tell the truth, and because the truth will set you free, and I hope that we get to the bottom of this soon.
Does that include not canceling the defense contract?
I think what I heard President Trump say is not canceling the defense contract, because that's only going to hurt us as Americans and our workers that are working in those factories here in America. I guarantee you that President Trump right now is working with his team, and you don't always see everything that's happening on the international stage. They don't want to sometimes dictate the response that they're going to give, but I know this is important to a lot of people and the entire country, and to all journalists, and to really everybody at home is watching this. It's very important.
Keith, because of it's an incredibly complicated picture in terms of our interest there, including with the Saudis here. But it does seem on Capitol Hill you have a lot of Republicans and Democrats wanting to take some pretty severe action.
Well, this is a fiasco. Joe made reference to President Trump's team. He has no team. We have no ambassador in Saudi Arabia. We have no ambassador in Turkey. We don't have people working the desk in those areas in the State Department. So this is really the cost of sort of amateur foreign policy where people think that everything is transactional. The United States is more than an arms deal. The United States is a protector of liberties, and we've really fallen apart in that role.
Janelle, do you get any kind of sense that people in our area really care about this story?
It's not at the top of their list by any means. People are really focused on issues close to home, especially in this area. Red tide is obviously right up there towards the top. But what you are hearing from people is the politicization of such a horrible event. And from the Democratic side, I think there's a lot of, is the demonization of the media sort of a catalyst for something like this happening? Did it give the Saudis kind of a false sense of security that they would somehow get away with it? So perhaps you might see it being something that's kind of in the home stretch here before November 6th.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on the week in Washington continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with meteorologist Josh Stone. Josh.
All right, Alan, thanks so much. Our radar, for the most part, remains very quiet on this Friday evening, though there is one little cell here to the north of Arcadia we're watching, but that's isolated. As far as the red tide goes, we had a new report today and very minimal counts around the Suncoast, and that's great news. Right now, around the area in the low 80s and upper 70s, so a comfortable Friday evening for us. Today we actually were a little uncomfortable. We hit a high of 91. The average for this time of the year is 85. No rain to speak about. We are about an inch, just over an inch actually, as far as where we should be at this time of the year. Should have 2.17 for an average, but we're only at 1.10, so we need to make that up. But we could get an isolated shower that develops through the mid-evening hours of tonight. This is our future cast, and maybe around Bradenton. We'll just have to watch this closely, but again, it's going to be short-lived. As far as the tropics go, everything's very quiet in the Atlantic, but as far as the Pacific goes, there's an area of disturbed weather, but that's moving west and over open waters. For the boaters tomorrow, expect a south becoming westerly wind at 5 to 10 knots, seas 1 to 2 feet with a light chop in the bay. Temperature at the beach will be 87 with mostly sunny skies. But put your sunscreen on because the UV index will be at 8, which is rather high. The overnight low will be 72. The average overnight low is 67, so a little bit warmer because of a light westerly wind. And then tomorrow it's going to be warm as well. 88. Remember, the average for this time of the year is 85, so it'll be above that. Maybe some areas getting into the low 90s again, but that all changes as we go into Sunday. A cold front's going to come by, give us a few clouds, not much, but a few clouds, and we have a 20% chance of shower activity. And then as we get into next week, our temperatures moderate to more seasonable-like conditions in the mid-80s. By the end of next work week into the weekend, we have another system coming in here that could cloud up the skies and bring us a little more widespread shower activity. Stay with us, everyone. Alan and his guests will be right back.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hot, hot. It's the Ghetto Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gatto dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gatto location near you or visit Gatto.com.
Gatto's got it.
At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits. You get all this coverage for a $0 monthly plan premium in most areas, and Humana has a large network of doctors and hospitals. So call or go online today. Find out if your doctor is part of the Humana network and get your free decision guide. Discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money.
There is no obligation and the book is free.
According to a new survey by U.S. News and World Report, 3 of Alabama's top 4 hotels and resorts are part of the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail Resort Collection. The Grand Hotel Marriott Resort in Point Clear, the Battle House Renaissance Mobile Hotel and Spa, and the Renaissance Birmingham Ross Bridge Golf Resort and Spa. Hey, we didn't invent Southern hospitality, we just offer more of it. Visit rtjgolf.com/resorts to find out more.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live. I live. She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
Investigate TV tackles the tough topics.
What happened to my life was awful.
When your health is compromised, we investigate.
They are really drug dealers in white coats.
Corporate greed exposed.
How do you trust them to run this program?
The powerful held accountable with in-depth journalism led by award-winning journalist Lee Zurich. We're your watchdog. Search Investigate TV on your Roku device. Download it now.
A home can be much more than just a house. But for some of our neighbors, home means uncertainty and isolation. At Rebuilding Together, we turn houses into homes and revitalize our communities. Because a neighborhood is more than just houses and streets. It's familiar faces and open arms. Join the movement to ensure everyone can live in a safe home and community. Become a rebuilder today.
Watch Suncoast View weekdays at 9 a.m. on ABC7. You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about the week in politics, and joining us for more are Joe Gruters, the chairman of the Sarasota Republican Party, former state representative Keith Fitzgerald, and Janelle Irwin of FloridaPolitics.com. We have a lot of ground to cover, but let's talk about the environment just a little bit. The president is on the campaign swing out west, and a lot of Republicans on the national basis are talking about the angry Democratic mobs, and they believe that is going to get Republicans to the polls in just a couple of weeks. And then the president said this last night about a new congressman who became famous for body slamming a reporter while he was running for election. Let's take a look.
But Greg is smart. And by the way, never wrestle him. You understand that? Never. Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind of... And he was way up. And he was way up, and I said, oh, this was like the day of the election or just before. And I said, oh, this is terrible. He's going to lose the election. Then I said, well, wait a minute. I know Montana pretty well. I think it might help him. And it did.
So the president's talking about body slamming reporters, and the crowd is roaring. Which angry mob, Joe, are we talking about?
I think a lot of that is done in jest and fun. I think the national environment overall is going extremely well because the policies that Donald Trump has championed, the economy is humming. We have lots of successes on the ground, both domestically and internationally. The guy's done more for our country in the first 2 years of his presidency than most people serve in 2 terms. I mean, it's people are happy with the president, they're happy with the direction of the country, and as a result, I think the voters will reward Republicans.
Keith, there is a different feeling now than, let's just say, a couple of weeks before the Kavanaugh hearing. Yeah, Joe is right. The numbers, economic numbers, by and large, are pretty good if you look at them in a certain way. And the president is appealing to his base when he's talking about angry mobs of Democrats or the caravan coming from South America.
Well, first of all, most people are not happy. All you have to do is look at the polls, and you can see that. President's support level is about 40%. Which is absolutely astounding given how well the economy is doing. The economy has been in a steady 9-year recovery. There hasn't been any great big change. But I do want to say that when a political leader starts talking about the opposition being illegitimate, the press as being the enemy of the people, and that violence in politics has an appropriate place, a country's in serious trouble. This is a pattern, and we should take it seriously. It's not a joke.
Janelle, again, over the last, it looked like the Democrats were standing in terms of making real inroads. Just look at the congressional races in the Tampa Bay area from the 16th up north. And then we got the news this week that the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee was canceling its ads there. So I hate to put it this way, but did the Democrats peak too early? Has the momentum shifted, at least in our area?
I think it depends on what part of the area you're in. Florida is an incredibly varied state. So when you're in one county, you can have pockets of different political leanings, and you're going to have, urban centers that are going to lean left and more suburban and rural areas that are going to lean right. And what I see is that no matter what happens on the presidential stage, you have the people who are appalled and you have the people who are cheering the president on. And then you have the people in the middle. And what Joe said earlier when we were talking, it really comes down to the independent voters and do they like Trump or don't they? And you really just have to kind of look at whether or not people are seeing these sorts of attacks as an attack on the media and as something that's unpresidential, something that's dangerous for our nation, or are they seeing it as something that is done in jest? And I think that President Trump is banking on the fact that this is something that's going to help Republicans as they move forward with the midterms.
All right, we have to take another quick break, and we'll have much more on the week in politics, so stay with us.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now. In one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TrueStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Welcome back. We are talking about the week in politics, and joining us for more are Joe Gruters, chairman of the Sarasota Republican Party, former state representative Keith Fitzgerald, and Janelle Irwin of FloridaPolitics.com. But first, let's get a check-in on our poll question and your comments with ABC7 digital producer Chloe Convoy. Chloe.
Alan, earlier today I asked our viewers on Facebook if they think the Trump administration have been tough enough on Saudi Arabia demanding answers to the apparent murder of the Washington Post journalist. Here's what some of you had to say on Facebook. Chris says, I wish we cared about American citizens as we do these foreign nationals. Why is this our problem? Was this guy not a supporter of bin Laden? Phil responded to Chris's comment saying he lived in Virginia and worked for the Washington Post. His kids are American citizens, but torturing and dismembering him is all right with you. There's still time left to vote in the poll and comment on our Facebook post, so go share your thoughts with us. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you very much. Interesting comments there. But let's talk a little bit more about local politics, and we started talking about the 16th Congressional District. It is one of the most watched congressional campaigns in the entire United States. A lot of attention on it, but news this week, Keith, that the DCCC was pulling a lot of its advertising both in Sarasota and the Tampa Bay area, and that is important because this congressional district not only is Sarasota, but it's Manatee, and a third of the district is Hillsborough County.
Well, first of all, God and the DCCC only have one thing in common, and that is they both work in mysterious ways. So I don't know what the thinking of the DCCC is on this. It's obviously not good news for David Shapiro, who's a friend of mine. One thing that I think you want to keep in mind is that 70% of the people in this district vote early. So a lot of the TV campaign has already been, has hit the audience. David has outside help through the end of the campaign, so it's not like he's going to disappear. So not good news, but the campaign goes on, and I think David still has a chance.
Joe, obviously this is good news for Congressman Buchanan, but the Shapiro campaign would point out to us that campaigns and races break late, and so we still don't know exactly how this is going to end up, although some of the public polling out there over the last couple of weeks has shown Shapiro behind by anywhere from 7 to 9 points.
That's like when a major league team sells off their best couple of players and say they're still trying to compete for a championship. This race is over. There's been 3 polls, basically double digits in a row. Vern Buchanan represents this district well. He's a center-right guy. He's not up in D.C. He doesn't fight. He does everything he should do to represent a district like Sarasota, Manatee, and Southern Hillsborough. He is a true reflection of the district, and I think as a result, and what you've seen in the national shift, here locally, I can tell you, I think we've seen a tremendous shift back over to the conservative side, back over to the Republican side, I think by as much as 15 points. And I think that Congressman Buchanan has benefited. I think he's helped lead that effort and helped lead Republicans back towards the positive side. And I think he's well on his way to re-election. There's nothing that can stop this movement now.
But we have seen here in Sarasota and throughout the Tampa Bay area some kind of unprecedented motivation by Democrats canvassing on the weekends, hundreds of them at a time here. Has all that gone away, or do we know where those MPAs, those all-important independent voters, are going to come down?
So, no, the momentum has not gone away, not by a long shot. Now, it doesn't look good for Shapiro. There are some polls that have him above 50%, and if that is the case, then Shapiro could go and get all of those undecided voters and still lose. So that's a really big deal. But he's still got plenty of cash. He's outraised Buchanan, something like $875,000 versus $500,000 from Buchanan, half of which was his own money. So I think that there's still some strength there. But the DCCC pulling out is telling, and it's really going to take that ground game. And I think the one message that I tell people over and over again is, in the era of Trump, don't count anybody out, because you don't know if polls are right anymore.
Well, here's one question I have here, and I would imagine what looms large is at this very table, the trapezoid in a couple of days, the one and only debate between David Shapiro and Congressman Vern Buchanan. Keith, you have debated Congressman Buchanan yourself. How important is that debate? Can it really make that much of a difference?
It can if people watch it. And now candidates have more tools to push something like this, because you broadcast it, then it's going to run on YouTube and so forth, so they can get more legs out of it than they could when I ran, for example. just wasn't done very much. So I think it's really crucial for David. It is true. I don't think anybody disputes that the money going away is not a good thing, but he does still have money, and this is a good opportunity for him because he can do well. He can push the results of the debate all over the place.
Joe, how important is this debate?
Well, I think now Shapiro is running to make it as close of a race as he can. This race is over. It's been over for a couple of weeks now, and now it's about saving face and trying to make a good show. Buchanan, my guess, will end up winning by over 10 points. This race was close. I'll tell you, Shapiro's a great candidate. They did a great job. He's done a great job raising money. He's done a great job out there in the community selling his agenda. But unfortunately, this is a Republican area. This is a Republican seat. And at the end of the day, Congressman Buchanan deserves to be reelected because he's done, he represents the community well. And it's hard that's why incumbents win 93% of the time.
One race that remains close is the governor's race between the Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum and former Congressman Ron DeSantis. Joe, the polls are still within points, but the mayor is still leading, even though he is only back on the campaign trail today after taking more than a week off.
Listen, Florida is a purple state, unlike our area, which is a Republican area. Florida itself is a purple state. Governor Scott won both of his governor's campaigns by under 100,000 votes. I think that this race is going to come down to the end, and it's going to come down to who has the best ground game, who gets their voters out, and that's why for all you voters out there watching, please vote early. We need every single one of you.
Keith, is it ground game so much as what we see on television? The advertisements have been absolutely nasty. The DeSantis ad basically saying that Gillum is under investigation as it is a fact and that he is corrupt. PolitiFact has said that was not truthful. On the other hand, as you saw Gillum today, Gillum is trying to tie Gillum contributors to the Venezuelan dictator.
Honestly, I don't know what that claim was about, but I thought it was very unfortunate that Congressman DeSantis continued to run negative ads into the broadcast area where the hurricane was coming. It's another one of these things where there are lines you just really shouldn't cross. He could have pulled back on that, as Andrew Gillum did. I agree with what Joe said. This is going to be determined by the voters. Getting out the vote is a big difference. Whoever has the best ground game will have a huge advantage. I think we have another advantage, which is the Democratic candidate, Andrew Gillum, is a really dynamic, optimistic guy, and people are starved for optimism in politics.
Right, Janelle, I want you to weigh in on that, but we do have to take a quick break. We'll be back with final thoughts in a moment. Right now, however, let's get the final check on our first alert forecast from meteorologist Josh Stone. I don't know.
This promotion
Get
thing
Bob
is
all
great.
angry at us.
All right, we're looking at our radar right now, and it's quiet other than this little cell here in DeSoto County, just to the north and west of Arcadia, just to the north of Lansing. So we'll watch this, but it doesn't look like there's any lightning strikes out of it. And again, it's isolated. It's the only thing on the radar right now. So everything pretty quiet for tonight. Temperatures still warm in the low 80s right now. They'll eventually cool down into the low 70s later on this evening. We hit a high of 91. That's above the average of 85, but the record was set back in 1971 of 92, so 1 degree shy of tying that record. But rather warm today, no rain to talk about, so we are rain-free for today and should be for most of this evening. Other than an isolated shower passing on by, I think we're going to be pretty much clear of any sort of rainfall. So sunny conditions and warm conditions for our Saturday. As we get into Sunday, though, we'll slightly cool thanks to a cold front coming down from the north, and then that trend will continue into next week. Slightly more, cooler with temperatures in the mid-80s instead of the upper 80s and low 90s. Big story, though, in the national picture is what's happening down here in Texas. They've received a lot of rainfall and flooding conditions there with potentially 5 to 6 inches of rain in some spots. And so they're dealing with this with a very slow-moving system. Eventually, that's going to make its way to our area, but it will bring us just some light showers on Sunday, and then, like I said, cooler temperatures, slightly cooler. As far as the tropics go, nothing to show you here in the Atlantic. It is all quiet on this Friday evening. For the boaters, tomorrow expect a south to westerly wind at 5 to 10 knots, seas 1 to 2 feet with light conditions in the bay. 72 for the overnight low. The average overnight low at this time of the year is 67, so we'll be slightly above that tonight because we'll have a light westerly wind over the water, which will keep our temperatures a little bit above the average low. 88 for our high tomorrow, so another warm and muggy day, mostly sunny skies. And then that cold front I was talking about will slide on in here to the Suncoast and bring us slightly cooler temperatures, 86 for the high. Remember, the average is 85, so Sunday should be about 86. A few clouds, maybe a light chance of showers. As we get into next week, we continue this 85, 86 degree trend for several days, and then another system will develop and come our way as we get into Thursday and Friday and Saturday to bring us a better chance of rainfall. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hot, hot. It's the Gatto Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gatto dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gatto location near you or visit Gatto.com.
Gatto's got it.
I feel happiest when I'm out enjoying my favorite things, like spending time in my garden. That's why I need a Humana Medicare Advantage plan.
Many Humana Medicare Advantage plans cover everything from emergency care and hospital stays to doctor office visits and prescription drug coverage. In fact, last year, Humana Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan members saved an estimated $6,900 on average on their prescription costs. Humana has a large network of doctors and hospitals, plans that include vision and dental coverage, and most plans include Silver Sneakers Fitness and a rewards program, all for a $0 monthly plan premium in most areas.
Now I can be happy and healthy and keep enjoying all of my favorite things.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide and see how a Humana Medicare Advantage plan can help keep you enjoying your favorite things.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
When a call comes in, it's time to go to work. We respond first, but FBL is right there with us.
You really never know what you're going to pull up on. You don't know what type of call you're going to have. You don't know, once you get to that call, what you're going to encounter.
Whether it's a big storm, it could be a house fire, you must be ready at all times.
We're always happy to see FPL. It's pretty much a team effort. Everybody has a job to do.
We know we can count on them. They'll be there, and so will we.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
Welcome back. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. But first, what are you thinking? Our digital producer, Chloe Conboy, is tracking your comments.
Alan, we had a lot of heated discussion on our Facebook poll today. We had a total number of 350 votes, with 78% of you saying no, the Trump administration is not being tough enough on Saudi Arabia, and 22% saying they are being tough enough. Again, thank you all for participating in the ABC7 Facebook poll. Be sure to go to our Facebook page to participate in the poll next Friday. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you. So let's wrap up our conversation here. Janelle, we were talking about the 16th Congressional District and where Democrats in the area stand right now. What are you seeing throughout the greater area?
With that race specifically?
And the other congressional races here. We've had a number of contested races here. I know the race against Gus Bilirakis, the Democrat, is a great candidate, but it really has not gotten a lot of traction up there as well.
Well, Again, you're running into a situation there where it's a predominantly conservative district. So you're banking on the blue wave coming through for Democrats in districts like that. But there are some things happening that I think could influence some of the outcomes. Bill Arrakis has recently kind of come under fire for several different things, kind of some deceptive polling practices.
And also taking credit for bills that he
taking
did
credit
not
for bills that he
sponsor.
didn't sponsor, when he in fact was actually somebody who was.
You know, Keith, the Democrats started this campaign with hopes on a lot of congressional districts, including 2 in Florida, congressional districts that Hillary Clinton won. And now those districts, the Republicans are coming back here. And so what does that tell you?
Well, one thing is that candidates matter. I think in the Shalala race, she is a very accomplished woman, has done amazing things in her career, but she hasn't been the greatest candidate. And so that race really should have been in the Democratic category. The other thing is, you know, both sides will tend to get a big head early on if the polling looks good. This is Florida, it always tightens, and there will be surprises.
Joe, what are you looking at in terms of surprises in a couple of weeks? I mean, obviously, as Keith said, Florida always has a bag of tricks at hand here. What are you looking for?
You know, I'm not really necessarily looking for surprises on Election Day here in Florida, because I think that some of the numbers are starting to settle. I think here locally, we've seen a trend. We've finally regained our momentum as Republicans. But Keith is exactly right. Candidates matter at the end of the day. You can't just throw up any candidate in any district and expect to win. We've seen that here locally over and over again. We've seen it across the country. And my guess is if you have the right campaign and the right message, and if you live in the right district, if you're conservative, you live in a conservative area, you're going to win. If you're a liberal and you live in a liberal district, you're going to win. And if it's a purple state, it's a flip of a coin this election cycle.
We have to leave it there. We want to thank Joe Gruters, chairman of the Sarasota Republican Party, former state representative Keith Fitzgerald, and Janelle Irwin of FloridaPolitics.com for joining us tonight. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.